A recap of Saturday's GOP debate, early voting hits the state of Texas, and UT President Gregory Finvez sends out an email regarding campus carry policies. I'm Avery Travis. Welcome to Tower Talks. This past Saturday in South Carolina, GOP candidates duked it out once again as we continue to get closer to Election Day. After Cruz taking the Iowa caucuses and Trump leading in New Hampshire, all eyes were on this GOP debate. But one of the most memorable moments of the night was Jeb Bush's tirade against Trump. Bush addressed Trump's insensitivity to women and minorities, as well as reminding the crowd of Trump's reality show history after Trump attacked the George W. Bush administration, blaming the former President Bush for the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center. After doing surprisingly well in New Hampshire, Bush fired back, and the New York Times is calling it the first confrontation where Bush has actually bested Trump in an argument. Carson and Kasich remained fairly quiet, and Kasich called all the fighting between the candidates crazy, remaining in his moderate stance. Cruz and Rubio continued to wrestle, arguing over each other's immigration records, and this time it ended in a Spanish standoff, with Cruz saying Rubio backs a massive amnesty plan for those living in the U.S. illegally, and Rubio saying Cruz has a history of lying. The exchange ended in Cruz yelling in a heavily accented Spanish at his opponent. But many are asking, are these two just duking it out for second place? Let us know what you think at Tower_Talks on Twitter. And in more local news, early voting opened in Texas this week and will continue until Friday, February 26th. We're talking votes for the March 1st primaries, where Democratic and Republican parties nominate candidates to be on the fall ballot. All 36 U.S. representatives from Texas, a Texas Railroad Commissioner, 3 members of the Texas Supreme Court, 16 state senators, and all 150 state representatives are up for election. Here in Travis County, the district attorney and county sheriff's offices are also on the ballot. The Texas Secretary of State's office calls early voting the easiest and most convenient way to vote, and UT students traditionally camp out all night to get in line and cast their votes early. This year was no different. You can cast your ballot at the FAC on campus, as well as at Austin City Hall and a variety of Randall stores around the Austin area. For a full list of voting locations, go to the Travis County Clerk's website. Don't forget to bring a valid photo ID. And while it isn't required, but it's recommended to bring your voter registration card. In breaking news, today UT President Finvez officially released his decision regarding campus carry, which allows guns in classrooms. Finvez himself says that while he does not agree handguns belong on a university campus, he must comply with the laws of our state. This would make handguns allowed in classrooms and common areas and dorms. Students could already carry handguns on sidewalks and leave them in their cars on campus, but this dramatically changes things for many who were against campus carry. Students and faculty alike have expressed dismay, even creating a group called Gun Free UT, who says they will continue to push back in spite of this decision about SB 11. Be sure to stick around. We'll be talking with Joseph Flores with Students for Bernie organization about campus carry and more after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Tower Talks. Here to talk with us on the campus carry and the 2016 presidential elections is UT Students for Bernie member Joseph Flores. Thanks for being here, Joseph.
Thank you for having me.
So, with the campus carry announcement today, how are students feeling? What did you think when you first heard about it?
Well, I had a similar reaction to the one I had when I first heard about campus carry. I was frankly a little bit upset, definitely concerned for the safety of not only myself, but for the rest of students on campus. I don't think that it's a good policy. I don't think that it promotes a welcome environment to prospective students and also to current students. I think we have a lot of debates in classrooms that confront difficult issues, and I think a lot of students will feel pressured to withhold some of their opinions based on not wanting to offend somebody for the dangers that guns do, the ease of access to danger and violence that guns provide.
So do you think students like yourself who feel that way and organizations like Gun Free UT are going to continue to push back?
I definitely do. President Fens is in a difficult position because it is a law and he has to uphold it. But I do think that there will be a lot of pushback from students, not only on the UT system, but on the state legislature as well, to push for change in this area. I don't think that this is the end of the campus carry debate at all.
Great. Well, we'll continue to see how that plays out. Now, in national news, all eyes are on South Carolina as the primaries get closer and closer. The race between the GOP candidates as well as Bernie versus Hillary battle is closer than we originally thought. Coming off of a huge win in New Hampshire, Sanders is definitely gaining speed, especially among students due to his progressive stance on college affordability. So, obviously, you are with Students for Bernie. It seems like for a while all we heard about was Hillary, 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 and then after his somewhat surprising win in New Hampshire, what do you attribute this increase in popularity to?
I think Bernie has an honest and approachable policy that speaks to many different people of different classes, races, religions, socioeconomic standings. I think he is advocating for change that a lot of young people did not imagine themselves having when growing up in the political climate that we did, in which large corporations make big donations, and he just presents an opportunity to youth that I think has a lot of young people have really rallied behind, and that has been the foundation for his support. But again, he speaks to a wide cast of people, and to me, it's not surprising at all. I think it was just a matter of time and dedicated ground support and people pushing for this. It's what the people want, so you can't expect that to not go unheard.
So you spoke a lot about youth and how people our age, college students, are really the ones backing him. Do you think that Hillary is struggling to reach that group, or?
I do, and I think that the reason is that Hillary has a history in politics. She is the wife of a former president, and while that in no way should define her candidacy, we are aware of where she has stood on issues in the past, whether that be supporting or against gay marriage at a time, at an earlier time during her husband's presidency, during Bill Clinton's presidency, to then changing her opinion. I think that her being in the spotlight has shown us how much of a politician she is and how really connected she is to the political establishment that youth are honestly fed up with. And not just youth, big pockets of people around the nation are.
So obviously one of his big points is affordability for college students.
Yeah.
But what, I guess, would you say to the large amount of people who are saying, that's not going to work, we're going to be in huge amounts of debt? What, I guess, is, as students who support Bernie, what is your response to that?
My response would be, do a little bit of research, see that many other developed countries in the world see education as a right, and that doesn't stop at secondary education. That goes on to higher education, because especially as a developed country, we have certain standards for the level of education we believe our people should have. And Bernie seeks to secure that right. And as far as affordability, the plan is paid for. He's been talking about exactly why it's a tax on Wall Street speculation. This has been proposed in the past, and it's a tax that majority of Americans will not feel any sort of, effect on, but they will see the benefits of having that opportunity for education. So for naysayers, I would just say, do a little bit of research, understand that it is not at all radical or, unachievable, but it is highly necessary.
All right, well, obviously South Carolina primaries are coming up just around the corner. A lot of people have been saying he won't have the same success that he did in New Hampshire, but do you feel differently, or?
I definitely do. I think that people have been saying that he wasn't going to have the success that he's had since the beginning of his campaign, and he's, surprised the establishment, political pundits. He's exceeded expectations, and I see no reason for that to be different. I know that Bernie has done a lot of outreaching to minority voters, both the large Latino population in Nevada and the black population in South Carolina. And I don't see, if you look at the polls, he is neck and neck nationally and in Nevada. And I don't see any reason why his momentum would slow down, because his message is not a message for, frankly, the more rural white population in Iowa and New Hampshire. It's a message for everybody. And I think the more that gets advertised, the more support you'll see.
That's great. We'll have to see how it all pans out in the coming weeks. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have Joseph stick around and discuss the Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's death. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Switching to other more somber news, following Justice Antonin Scalia's death, our Tower Talks correspondent Peyton Yeager asked students what they think should happen in replacing the Supreme Court justice and how this will affect the 2016 presidential race. Let's see what they had to say.
A political war broke out last Saturday after Justice Scalia's death, and we went out to ask University of Texas students their thought on his death and how this will affect the 2016 election. It is unprecedented for Obama to appoint the new Supreme Court justice. Do you think that he has the power? Do you think that it should be the next president?
Well, I think it's his constitutional duty to appoint someone, or actually nominate, because it's the Senate's job to officially make the confirmation. So I think following the Constitution, yeah, I think he should appoint someone.
I think that's the power of the president, and the current president is Obama, so he should have the power to choose who the Supreme Court justice is.
I think he should. I feel like he's done a great job being the president for the last 8 years, so I think whatever his decision is, he'd make a good one. Since he was on the more conservative side, how do you think this is going to play out in the major court cases that are coming up?
I mean, obviously it kind of shifts it more to a liberal perspective, right? And depending on your view, you could see that as being pretty bad or pretty good. But I think President Obama's going to have a really hard time getting somebody in before we see another president come in.
It's kind of it leaves some open questions with some of the cases in which the opinions aren't public yet. I've done a little bit of research and kind of curious about this. And so I think that with some of the decisions, specifically with the Fisher case, it won't really affect anything since Justice Kagan sort of she's recused herself from that case. So in terms of that, it would still be a 4-3 as opposed to a 4-4. But with some of the others, I think it could have tremendous impact.
Do you think that this will play into the campaign coming up, since we have Super Tuesday coming up and the big debate and or primaries? Do you think that this will have a big impact?
Definitely. The more Democratic Supreme Court justices that you have, it'll definitely play a part in the debate coming up.
It's definitely going to be a big platform for each candidate, because they can go up on stage, they can say, hey, we want this candidate. And, they kind of get to say that within a bubble, right? They kind of get to put up whoever they want, and assume that there are going to be no barriers to that. So it's definitely going to be a big platform for them, but as well, you said there was the majority leader, right?
Yes.
In a sense, that also kind of comes in a bubble too. He says, I want to do this, but.
And we have Joseph still here with us to discuss this. So obviously extremely sad news, but now the question on everyone's mind is, will President Obama get to appoint a new justice, or will they wait for the next candidate?
I know for sure Obama will definitely try. He has that constitutional right, and I think that he should. Whether or not he will actually get someone appointed is a different question. I think that if he's trying to get someone appointed, he will appoint someone more moderate, which will diminish the sort of left swing that people assume is going to happen, and probably will happen on the bench. But what's interesting to me is if the Republicans in Congress do manage to block his nomination and effectively push it at the end, wait until the next president, it's kind of a big gamble. Because if Hillary Clinton wins the election, they still have to put up with whoever she nominates. If Bernie Sanders wins the election, they have to put up with somebody who's probably even more liberal than they would have ever expected. And given that the next president, if they are Democratic, is not going to have to play the moderate game, they're taking a risk by waiting. And the second point to that is, again, if they do obstruct the nomination, what sort of pushback is that going to see on the public, who is already fed up with the obstructionism that they've seen in the Republican Congress? It's difficult to say whether or not he will get the nomination or get someone appointed. He'll definitely try, but the effects will be interesting.
That's an extremely good point. I don't think a lot of people have thought about that. I think people are thinking, oh, they're going to obstruct it, and they're going to get someone extremely conservative to fill that role that obviously Justice Scalia is leaving. But that's a very interesting point about who will the next 2016 presidential candidate, who will get elected and who will get the choice of who's going to fill that role. So thank you so much for having you and for sharing your opinions. But when we come back, we're going to have a little bit of a social media sign out and wrap things up for you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Welcome back to Tower Talks. According to Trump, Jeb's campaign forgot to renew the candidate's website domain name, and Trump seized the opportunity to buy jebbush.com right from under their noses. As soon as we thought the feuding was over, it looks like it's just begun. While Trump fired at Jeb and other Republicans on the campaign trail, a press conference featuring Barack Obama went viral after he fired his own shots at Trump, saying he isn't suited to be president of the United States. Obama added that the presidency isn't a reality show or a marketing strategy, and that the American people are sensible enough to not to elect someone like Trump. Facebook users responded in either vehement support or condemnation of Obama's words, further highlighting the deep political divide that characterizes this presidential election. Well, that's a wrap for today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Tower_Talks and tweet us what you want to see covered on the show. I'm Avery Travis. Thanks for tuning in and have a great night.